Grandma's kitchen worked harder than yours does. From flour bins to Dutch doors, the 1900 to 1970 era built function into every wall, drawer, and door, and we quietly threw all of it away. Christine Frederick applied factory time and motion science to the home kitchen in 1913. Her core rule was brutal and simple. Every unnecessary step is wasted labor. That philosophy built this entire list. 9 features. Each one solved a real problem. Each one disappeared anyway. Indiana, 1915. A housewife in Muncie opens a tall, freestanding cabinet and has instant access to her flour bin, her sifter, her sugar, her spice rack, her recipe cards, and a full enamel work surface, all without moving her feet. Number 9. The Hoosier cabinet. Between 1900 and 1930, somewhere between 4 and 5 million of these units were sold across the United States. That makes it one of the best-selling kitchen products in American history. Not a refrigerator, not a stove, a cabinet. That number should stop you cold. The Hoosier Manufacturing Company out of New Albany, Indiana, led the market, but they had fierce competition from McDougall and Sellers, both producing their own versions with slightly different configurations. Each brand tried to out-engineer the others, adding features, refining the layout, trimming the steps between you and a finished meal. The result was a product that functioned less like furniture and more like a workstation designed by someone who actually cooked 3 meals a day. A fully loaded Hoosier contained a large, tin-lined flour bin with a built-in hand-crank sifter at the base, a sugar bin, a pull-out enamel-coated work surface, a spice rack, a recipe card holder, small drawers for utensils, and, in some premium models, a built-in metal bread box, and even a glass-doored upper cabinet for everyday dishes. Read that again. 1 piece of furniture, every prep function you need. The Hoosier cabinet was the counter, it was the pantry, it was the prep station. All 3 in 1 footprint. Christine Frederick cited integrated workflow features exactly like this in her 1914 efficiency studies. The logic was airtight. If the flour is stored, sifted, and dispensed in 1 motion without moving your feet, you have eliminated 4 separate steps from the baking process. Multiply that across every meal, every day, and the labor savings compound dramatically. What comes next is the part that still doesn't make sense. We had this figured out over a century ago, and we walked away from it. Everything was in place. Kitchen designers of the post-war era just didn't know what the shift to modular cabinetry and composite materials was building toward. A generation of kitchens that looked cleaner and worked harder to maintain. The decline came swiftly after World War II. Post-war tract homes came with built-in cabinetry as standard. Suddenly, the Hoosier was redundant, or at least it looked that way. Families pushed them to the garage or sold them off. The integrated design that made them brilliant was replaced by rows of identical cabinets that stored things but didn't do anything. You had more storage. You had less function. Today, a restored Hoosier cabinet in good condition sells for between $300 and $800 at antique markets, with premium examples clearing $1,000. The market includes people who actually want to use them, not just display them. The same integrated thinking that built the Hoosier's success was about to destroy it. Number 8. The drainboard sink. From the 1920s through the 1950s, this was the default kitchen sink in American homes, and it was a single, seamless unit cast from enamel-coated cast iron that included the basin and 1 or 2 sloped, ribbed drying surfaces built directly onto the sides. No separate drying rack, no rubber mat, no plastic dish cradle sitting on the counter collecting mildew underneath. The dishes came out of the water, rested on the ribbed drainboard, and the water ran back into the basin through the slope. Gravity did the work. The counter stayed clear. The whole system occupied exactly the space of the sink itself. The engineering here is simple but precise. The ribs on the drainboard surface were raised just enough to lift dishes off the flat surface, allowing air to circulate underneath and water to drain freely between them. The slope was typically around 5 to 7 degrees, enough to move water consistently without dishes sliding. The enamel coating was fused to the cast iron at high temperature, creating a surface that resisted chipping, staining, and bacterial growth better than most modern composite materials. These sinks were virtually indestructible. That is not a marketing claim, it is a documented reality. Original drainboard sinks installed in the 1930s and 1940s are still fully functional in homes today. 80 to 100 years of daily use, and the surface holds. The cast iron doesn't flex, doesn't warp, and doesn't degrade. Plumbers who work on older homes regularly report finding these units in perfect working order, needing nothing more than new supply lines. The replacement market tells the full story. Modern reproductions of the drainboard sink retail between $800 and $1,500, a significant premium over a standard undermount sink. People are paying it. The market is not large, but it is consistent and growing, driven by renovation clients who have lived with modern sinks long enough to understand what they gave up. What they gave up is counter space and one fewer piece of equipment. The standalone drying rack, a product that did not need to exist, became a standard kitchen accessory once the drainboard disappeared. It takes up roughly 2 square feet of counter space, needs to be cleaned separately, and creates a water pooling problem on whatever surface it sits on. The drainboard sink had already solved all of that. We unsolved it and then bought a product to solve it again, less elegantly, for less money, with more maintenance. Number 7. The built-in bread box. Not the ceramic container sitting on your counter. Not the drawer you shove a plastic-wrapped loaf into. The real version, recessed directly into the upper cabinetry, 12 to 18 inches wide, hidden behind either a tambour roll-up door or a hinged panel, with passive ventilation slots cut into the back or sides to allow airflow. This design peaked in the 1940s and 1950s, when home baking was still a weekly or daily activity for a significant portion of American households. The built-in bread box kept bread at room temperature, the correct storage temperature for maintaining crust texture and slowing the staling process, while the ventilation slots prevented the moisture buildup that accelerates mold. No refrigeration needed. No plastic bag trapping moisture against the crust. No counter footprint. The ventilation mechanism is worth understanding because it is genuinely clever. Refrigerating bread accelerates starch retrogradation, the molecular process that makes bread go stale, at roughly 6 times the rate of room temperature storage. The built-in bread box solved this by providing a cool, dry, ventilated environment that slowed both staling and mold without the damaging cold of a refrigerator. The passive airflow through the back slots was enough to keep humidity from concentrating around the loaf. It worked because it was designed by people who understood the problem, not by people who were designing around a countertop footprint. The tambour roll-up door, the same mechanism used in roll-top desks, was the premium version. It slid up and back into the cabinet cavity, disappearing completely when open, leaving Before we continue, every kitchen feature in this video disappeared for the same reason. We traded function for the look of function. The Home Design Mistake Bible breaks down exactly how that happened. Zero room visual clutter. Scan the QR code on screen to grab your more common. Either way, the bread lived in the wall. The counter stayed clear. The feature was invisible until you needed it. Bread consumption patterns shifted in the 1960s. Commercially sliced bread in sealed plastic bags became the dominant form. The plastic bag changed the storage logic. Bread in a sealed bag doesn't need ventilation, it needs a flat surface. The built-in bread box became less relevant as the product it was designed for changed. Cabinet makers stopped including it. Within a decade, it had disappeared from standard kitchen design almost entirely. Modern kitchens typically dedicate a full cabinet drawer to bread storage. Same footprint, no ventilation, no roll-up door, no integration. It is a less elegant solution to the same problem, arrived at by ignoring the previous solution. Some renovation clients now specifically request built-in bread boxes as custom additions, paying carpenters to recreate what used to be standard. The irony is thick enough to slice. Number 6. The wall-mounted fold-out ironing board. Marketed from the 1920s onward, this was a shallow cabinet, typically 4 to 6 inches deep, mounted directly into a kitchen or utility room wall. Inside, folded flat, was a full-size ironing board on a hinged mechanism. You opened the cabinet door, pulled the board down to horizontal, and it locked into position at the correct working height. Iron your clothes, fold it back, close the door, gone. Zero floor storage. Zero dragging a 6-foot board out of a hall closet. Zero setting up and breaking down. The board lived in the wall, deployed in under 10 seconds, and disappeared just as fast. Not even close, because the better versions included a built-in electrical outlet inside the cabinet, positioned so your iron cord reached it cleanly without crossing the board, and a small dedicated shelf for the iron itself to rest on while it cooled. You didn't set a hot iron on the counter. It had a home, built into the same unit. This feature made specific sense in the layout of pre-1960s homes. The kitchen and laundry area were almost always adjacent. Washer hookups, utility sinks, and drying lines were part of the same functional zone. Ironing happened in or near the kitchen because that was where the work happened. The wall-mounted board was designed for that reality. It fit the workflow of the house as it was actually used, not as it was photographed for a catalog. The mechanism itself was robust. The hinge systems used in quality units from manufacturers like Bremer and Archer were built from heavy-gauge steel, designed to handle daily use across decades. Many original installations from the 1940s and 1950s are still operable in older homes today. The board surface worn, but the hinge mechanism as solid as ever. That is 50 to 80 years of fold-out, fold-back operation without failure. Modern replacement wall-mounted ironing board units retail between $200 and $400 depending on the cabinet finish and mechanism quality. The market is niche but loyal, driven almost entirely by people in older homes who have either rediscovered an original unit or are trying to replicate one. New construction almost never includes them. The feature was designed out of homes when open-plan layouts pushed laundry rooms to separate spaces, and when ironing itself became less frequent. But the engineering logic never stopped being valid. If you live in a house with a dedicated laundry area adjacent to your kitchen, a wall-mounted fold-out ironing board still makes more sense than the alternative. A board in a closet you have to open, a board you have to drag out, set up, use, break down, and put back. Every single time. That is 4 extra steps the 1920s already solved. Number 5. The pass-through window. A framed opening in the wall between the kitchen and the dining room, typically 18 to 30 inches wide, 12 to 16 inches tall, with a small counter ledge on the dining room side. That is the whole thing. No door, no glass, just a hole in the wall with a shelf. It peaked in post-war ranch houses and mid-century modern homes from the late 1940s through the 1960s. Architects included it as standard in layouts where the kitchen was a separate room, but the dining area was immediately adjacent. The logic was direct. Food goes from the stove to the pass-through ledge without the cook leaving the kitchen. Dishes come back the same way. The cook stays in the workspace, the dining room stays in the dining room. If you're wondering how that's even legal, so is everyone else. The pass-through seems almost too simple to matter. But the labor math is significant. In a house where dinner is served to 4 to 6 people, the number of trips a cook makes between kitchen and dining room during a single meal service runs between 8 and 15. Each trip is 20 to 30 feet of walking, a door to navigate, and a return trip. The pass-through eliminates most of those trips entirely. Christine Frederick would have approved without hesitation. The social function was equally considered. The pass-through gave the cook a direct line of sight and voice contact with the dining room without requiring full presence in it. You could hear the conversation. You could answer a question. You could hand off a dish and receive an empty plate, all without abandoning your position at the stove. It maintained the kitchen as a focused, functional workspace while providing exactly enough connection to avoid isolation. The contrast with the modern open-concept kitchen is worth stating plainly. Open-concept design removes the wall entirely, which does solve the isolation problem. But it also means that every cooking smell, every exhaust fan noise, every smoke alarm triggered by searing a steak, every visual mess of prep work, all of it is now in the living room. The pass-through gave you the connection without the spillover. It was a calibrated solution. Open concept is a maximalist solution that trades one problem for three others. If the pass-through had stopped here as a purely functional feature, this would be a very different story. But it also carried a social intelligence that open-plan design has never fully replaced. The dining room was a room. The kitchen was a room. The pass-through was the conversation between them. Number 4. The kitchen phone niche. A recessed alcove built directly into the kitchen wall, typically 8 to 12 inches wide, 6 to 8 inches deep, and positioned at standing height. Inside sat a wall-mounted telephone, a small notepad, a pencil on a hook, and in the better versions, a shallow shelf below for the telephone directory. Pay attention to this next detail, because it explains everything. The phone niche was not just a place to put a phone. It was the centralization of household communication into the one room where someone was almost always physically present. Before mobile phones, before cordless phones, the kitchen was the communications hub of the home by default, because someone was in the kitchen for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for the hours between. The phone niche formalized that reality into the architecture of the house. Many homes with phone niches also included a small built-in bench or stool nearby, sometimes called the phone chair, sometimes just an alcove seat, so that longer calls could be taken without standing. This was not an afterthought. It was an acknowledgement that telephone conversations took time, that the kitchen was the right place to have them, and that the space should accommodate the behavior. The design followed the human pattern instead of forcing the human to adapt to the design. The niche kept the phone, the notepad, the pencil, and the directory all in one location. No searching for a pen. No missing messages because nobody wrote them down. No phone cord stretched across the kitchen floor as a trip hazard. Everything had a designated position, and the position was built into the wall. This is the Christine Frederick principle, applied to communication rather than cooking. Eliminate unnecessary steps by integrating the function into the space. By 2016, roughly 49% of US households had gone wireless only, according to CDC and NCHS data, meaning no landline at all. The phone niche became obsolete not because it was a bad idea, but because the technology it housed disappeared. What replaced it in older homes is telling. Some homeowners converted the niche into a charging station for mobile devices, which is functionally identical logic. Centralized communication technology in the kitchen, accessible to everyone in the household. Others filled it with cookbooks, or a small speaker, or simply patched it over with drywall. In homes built before 1970, you can sometimes find the ghost of a phone niche behind a thin layer of plaster, a slight depression in the wall, a painted-over rectangular recess, the outline of a shelf bracket still visible if the light hits right. It is a feature that was so well integrated into the architecture that removing it required active effort. That is the mark of genuine design. It becomes structural. It becomes part of the house itself, not an accessory to it. Number 3. The Dutch door. Split horizontally across the middle, the top half opens independently of the bottom half. That is the entire mechanism. Two halves, independent operation, separately hinged. It sounds simple because it is simple, and it solved 3 distinct problems simultaneously, which is why it deserves to be in the top 3 on this list. Function 1 is ventilation. Pre-air conditioning homes, which means essentially all American homes before the 1950s, and most homes well into the 1960s, relied on cross-ventilation for cooling. Opening the top half of the Dutch door while keeping the bottom half closed created airflow through the kitchen without requiring a screen door. The breeze came through. The flies, mostly, did not. On a hot July afternoon in a kitchen with a wood-burning stove, this was not a comfort feature. It was a survival feature. Function 2 is child and pet containment. The bottom half of the door, kept closed while the top half was open, created a barrier roughly 36 to 40 inches high. Toddlers could not get out. Dogs could not get in. The cook had full visibility of the yard through the open top half and could maintain a conversation with children playing outside, while also maintaining a physical barrier that kept the kitchen workspace clear. This is a parenting solution built into the architecture of the house. Function 3 is delivery acceptance. In the era of daily home deliveries, the milkman arriving before sunrise, the iceman making his rounds, the grocer delivering a weekly order, the Dutch door allowed goods to be handed over the lower half without the delivery person entering the home. The top half opened, the transaction happened, the bottom half stayed closed. Privacy, security, and convenience in a single hardware mechanism that cost nothing extra to operate. Modern custom Dutch doors are available from specialty millwork companies and some larger manufacturers. They retail between $600 and $1,200 for an exterior-grade unit in solid wood with proper weather sealing. The market for them is almost always framed as an aesthetic choice. Farmhouse style, cottage charm, rustic appeal. That framing misses the point entirely. The Dutch door is not a style choice. It is a multi-function engineering solution that happens to look good. The aesthetic is a byproduct of the function, not the other way around. The decline came when air conditioning made cross-ventilation unnecessary, when home delivery of daily goods shifted to weekly grocery runs, and when suburban homes moved away from kitchen-adjacent outdoor access. The three problems the Dutch door solved stopped being daily problems. The solution disappeared with them. But those problems, ventilation, containment, controlled access, have not actually gone away. We just solve them worse now, with window screens that rattle, baby gates that take 3 hands to operate, and a full conversation with the UPS driver standing in our entryway. Number 2, the flour bin and sifter drawer. Built into the lower cabinet section of the Hoosier and similar kitchen units. This was a large tin-lined bin, typically holding between 25 and 50 pounds of flour, with a hand crank sifter mechanism mounted at the base. You turned the crank, sifted flour dropped directly into a bowl positioned on the pull-out enamel work surface below. That was the entire operation. Think about what that eliminated. It eliminated buying flour in small 2-pound bags because you had bulk storage. It eliminated finding space to store those bags in a cabinet. It eliminated opening the bag, no torn paper, no flour dust across the shelf. It eliminated reaching for a separate handheld sifter, which meant no device to wash and dry afterward. It eliminated the cloud of flour that rises when you tap a handheld sifter against the side of a bowl. The entire chain of small, annoying, flour-related tasks, gone. One crank, done. Christine Frederick cited integrated features of exactly this type in her 1914 efficiency studies as the model for what kitchen design should achieve. Her argument was not abstract. The flour bin and sifter was a case study in what she called the elimination of wasted motion. Every step between the flour storage and the mixing bowl had been collapsed into a single action. The tin lining of the bin was functional, not decorative. Tin resists moisture transfer, which kept the flour dry and prevented the humidity absorption that causes clumping. The sealed lid protected against insects, a genuine concern in the era before modern food storage standards. The bin was also sized deliberately. 25 to 50 pounds represents a practical bulk purchase quantity, meaning fewer shopping trips for one of the most frequently used baking ingredients in the household. The feature disappeared for 2 reasons, and both arrived in the 1950s. First came pre-sifted flour. When commercial milling processes improved to the point where flour came pre-sifted from the factory, the built-in sifter became unnecessary. Second, household baking frequency declined sharply as commercial bread, packaged cake mixes, and processed baked goods became affordable and widely available. A flour bin holding 50 pounds of flour only makes sense in a household that uses 50 pounds of flour regularly. By 1960, most households did not. What replaced the flour bin and sifter? A bag of flour in a cabinet, sometimes a canister on the counter. A separate handheld sifter in a drawer, used occasionally, washed and put back. We did not improve on the system. We dismantled it and went back to doing things the hard way, slowly enough that nobody noticed the regression. The flour bin and sifter is the clearest example on this list of Christine Frederick's principle in action, and the clearest example of what happens when that principle is abandoned. Number 1. The swinging kitchen door with porthole window. Double action hinges. The mechanical detail that makes this feature work allowed the door to swing freely in both directions and return to center under spring tension. You hit it with your hip going one way, hit it with your shoulder coming back, and never touched the handle. When your hands were full of plates, that mattered enormously. The porthole window, a round or oval glass insert set into the door at eye level, solved the collision problem that a swinging door would otherwise create. Before you pushed through, you could see if someone was coming the other way. A cook carrying a full soup tureen and a server carrying a stack of empty plates did not collide in the doorway because both of them could see through the glass before committing to the push. It is such an obvious solution to such an obvious problem that the fact we stopped using it requires explanation. Most people never heard about this part. The swinging kitchen door with porthole was not just a feature of restaurants and hotel kitchens. It was standard in American homes with formal dining rooms from roughly the 1910s through the 1950s. Homes where dinner was a daily event served at a table, where the kitchen was a workspace and the dining room was a separate social space, and where the door between them was used a dozen times per meal. The porthole was not decorative. It was a safety feature built into the traffic management of the house. The separation function was equally significant. A swinging kitchen door with a proper seal kept cooking smells in the kitchen during meal preparation. It kept the heat of a working stove from raising the temperature of the dining room. The kitchen was a production space. The dining room was a presentation space. The door was the boundary between them, and it was an intelligent boundary, permeable when needed, closed when not. The decline tracks directly with the rise of open-plan living. Post-1960s residential architecture began removing interior walls in favor of combined kitchen, living, dining spaces. The swinging kitchen door required a wall to hang on. When the wall went, the door went with it. By the 1970s, it had largely disappeared from new construction. House retrospectives and renovation survey data consistently cite the swinging kitchen door as one of the most requested bring it back features among clients undertaking full kitchen renovations. The reasons given are always the same: smell containment, noise separation, and the hands-free convenience of double-action hinges. Clients who have lived in open-concept homes for a decade or more are specifically requesting the restoration of a boundary that their grandparents had and that post-war architectural fashion told them was outdated, which, looking back, was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. The decision to remove a functional, multi-benefit architectural feature because an aesthetic movement decided that walls were old-fashioned. Custom swinging doors with double-action hardware and porthole glass inserts are available today through specialty millwork shops, typically running between $400 and $900 installed. That is a reasonable price for a feature that eliminates collision risk, separates your cooking environment from your living environment, and lets you move through a doorway with both hands full. Everything the swinging kitchen door had built, the separation, the safety, the hands-free function, was about to work against them the moment open concept became the default. And we have been paying for that decision in noise, smells, and awkward dinner party conversations ever since. Which of these 9 would you bring back first? Drop it in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss episode 18.